Commander Lark Nezzik stretched his 4 arms simultaneously as he gazed at the blue-green planet on the main view screen. Planet number 48. Just another conquest for the logbooks. Just another primitive rock to add to the ever-expanding Galactic Dominion. Commander, all systems report ready for the invasion sequence, announced Lieutenant Valdorian, his voice carrying that unmistakable tone of someone who believed themselves vastly superior to the task at hand. Preliminary scans confirm minimal defensive capabilities. No energy shields, no orbital weapons platforms, no faster-than-light technology. Honestly, sir, we could probably take this one with just the cadet training squadron. Nezzik snorted through his nasal slits. Let's not get careless, Valdorian. That's how successful military careers end up as cautionary tales at the academy. He tapped his control pad, bringing up the minimal intelligence they'd gathered on this backwater world. Though I must admit, this one does seem particularly underwhelming. The data scrolling across his screen was pathetically sparse. The species called themselves humans, apparently, and had only recently developed basic space travel capabilities. They hadn't even colonized their own moon in any meaningful way. Pathetic, really. Sir, the fleet is awaiting your command, Valdorian said, practically bouncing on his heeled tentacles with anticipation. 200 warships, the finest in the Dominion, for a planet that hasn't even unified under a single government. It's almost embarrassing for them. Nezzik chuckled. Well, they'll be unified soon enough. Under us. He closed the intelligence report without bothering to read past the first page. Why waste the time? This was routine. This was boring. This was beneath him, really, but High Command insisted that he personally oversee the expansion into this new galactic sector. Have the tactical officers been briefed? Nezzik asked, more out of habit than actual concern. Yes, Commander. Though several did ask why we weren't conducting more thorough reconnaissance. Because we don't need it, Nezzik replied, pushing himself up from his command chair. His exoskeleton creaked slightly. He was due for a molting soon. Perhaps he'd schedule it after they secured this planet. A little celebration. We've done this 47 times before. The same protocol works every time. Cut their communications, eliminate their military centers, and watch them surrender when our ground forces arrive. He walked the length of the bridge, enjoying how the junior officers scurried to attention as he passed. The flagship of the Valdorian fleet, the inevitable conquest, was truly a masterpiece of engineering. Nearly 5 kilometers long, armed with particle beams that could cut through planetary crusts and shielded against anything these primitives could possibly throw at them. What do they call this rock, anyway? Nezzik asked, pausing at the tactical station. The young officer quickly pulled up the data. They call it Earth, Commander. Earth, Nezzik repeated, savoring the foreign word. Well, soon they'll learn to call it Province Valdoria 48. He turned to address the entire bridge crew. Set course for this Earth. Standard conquest protocol. I want their communications down within the hour. By this time tomorrow, I expect to be accepting their surrender. A chorus of yes, Commander, echoed around the bridge. Nezzik smiled, revealing rows of sharp, metallic teeth, a status symbol among the Valdorian elite. Just another day, just another conquest, just another primitive species about to learn their place in the grand hierarchy of the universe. Little did he know that Earth was about to teach him a lesson instead. Let's not waste time with unnecessary details, Commander Nezzik announced as he strode into the War Council chamber. The room fell silent immediately. 6 of his top officers sat around a holographic display of Earth, its blue oceans and green continents slowly rotating above the table. We all know the protocol. We've done this 47 times before. I don't see why 48 should be any different. The tactical officer, General Vrox, nodded enthusiastically. Absolutely, Commander. Our scans indicate abundant mineral resources, particularly in regions they call Australia and Russia. Fresh water reserves that would make Sector 7 planets jealous. and the atmosphere perfectly suited for Valdorian biological conversion. "And the inhabitants?" Nezzik asked, taking his seat at the head of the table. "Primitive but numerous," replied Vrox. "Approximately 8 billion of them spread across the surface. They're in a pre-unification stage, still divided into what they call nations. No unified defense system, no planetary government. Manageable, by all accounts." Intelligence Officer Mira Nezzik cleared her throat, a sound that resembled grinding metal. All eyes turned to her. Unlike the others, Mira wasn't from a military bloodline. Her position had been earned through analytical brilliance rather than hereditary advancement. "I have some concerns, Commander," she said, her voice steady despite the dismissive looks from the others. "The preliminary data shows some anomalies." Nezzik waved one of his 4 hands impatiently. "What kind of anomalies?" "Their weapons technology is surprisingly advanced for their development stage. They've split the atom, they have rudimentary AI systems, and their military spending is unusual." "Unusual how?" asked Lieutenant Palorian with obvious skepticism. "They spend more resources fighting each other than any species we've encountered, and they adapt quickly. Very quickly. I recommend additional reconnaissance before." "Before what?" interrupted Nezzik. "Before we follow the same successful protocol we've used 47 times. The protocol that has never failed? That has earned the Dominion 47 new provinces?" He tapped his control pad, and the hologram shifted to display a tactical overlay. "The plan remains the same. Phase 1, communications blackout. We disable all their satellites and ground-based communication systems. Phase 2, strategic strikes on their military installations. Phase 3, ground invasion and acceptance of surrender." General Vrox nodded approvingly. "Timeline, sir?" 24 hours, one of their planetary rotations. I want to be drinking victory nectar by this time tomorrow." Nezzik stood up, signaling the meeting was over. "Begin preparations immediately." As the officers filed out, conversations already turned to post-victory celebrations. In the corridor outside, Nezzik overheard 2 junior officers placing bets. "I say 6 hours before they surrender," said one, his exoskeleton freshly polished for the occasion. "Too generous," replied the other. 4 hours, maximum. Did you see their primitive aircraft? They still use combustion engines." In the officers' lounge, preparations for the victory party were already underway. Someone had programmed the food synthesizers to create Earth-themed delicacies based on the minimal data they had. The results were bizarre approximations that looked nothing like actual human food. "I've reserved the ceremonial surrender hall for 0800 hours tomorrow," announced the ship's events coordinator, "and commissioned a special victory anthem incorporating sounds from Earth's dominant species. Apparently they're called cats and dogs." Amidst the laughter and celebration planning, Mira Nezzik stood quietly at a terminal, still scanning through data about Earth. Her expression grew increasingly troubled as she scrolled through historical records of human conflict. But no one was paying attention to her anymore. The Valdorian fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, 200 warships arranged in the traditional Dominion conquest pattern. Earth hung before them, unsuspecting and seemingly peaceful. "Commence Phase 1, Commander Nezzik ordered calmly from his command chair. Communications blackout." Throughout the fleet, specialized jamming vessels activated their equipment, targeting the primitive satellites orbiting the planet. On tactical displays, the small objects representing Earth's communications network began blinking out one by one. "Sir, we're encountering an unexpected number of satellites," reported the communications officer, his voice betraying slight confusion. "How many?" asked Nezzik, barely interested. "Several thousand, sir. Many more than indicated in our preliminary scans." Nezzik frowned. "Several thousand. What do they need so many communications devices for?" "Lieutenant Palorian," always eager to impress, chimed in. Perhaps they're inefficient, sir. Quality over quantity has never been a trait of primitive species. Regardless, jam them all, Nezzik commanded with a dismissive wave. On the planet below, chaos erupted as satellite communications, GPS systems, and various networks suddenly went dark. The Valdorians intercepted a flood of communications in dozens of different languages. "Sir, we're having trouble processing their communications," reported the linguistics officer. "They appear to speak thousands of different languages." "Thousands?" Nezzik stood up, genuinely surprised for the first time. "That's unusual. Most species standardize communication before reaching this level of technology." "And sir," continued the increasingly nervous officer, "they seem to have numerous different power structures. Not just a few competing nations as our intelligence suggested, but hundreds of distinct governmental entities." Nezzik dismissed this concern with a snort. "It will make their surrender all the more chaotic, but the outcome remains the same. Proceed to Phase 2. Launch the first attack wave." 50 Valdorian destroyers broke formation, descending toward Earth with precision targeting. Their mission was simple: eliminate key military installations in a single, overwhelming strike. Standard procedure, executed flawlessly 47 times before. The first sign that something was wrong came 3 minutes later. "Sir." The tactical officer's voice cracked with alarm. "The humans they're responding." "Of course they're responding," Nezzik replied irritably. "Primitive species always attempt some form of defense before surrendering." "No, sir, you don't understand," the officer continued, real fear now evident in his voice. "They're responding effectively. Destroyer Group 7 reports multiple hits from ground-based weapons. Destroyer 9 is down." Nezzik's 4 eyes widened simultaneously. "That's impossible. Their weapons shouldn't be capable of penetrating our shields." "Sir, they appear to be using kinetic energy weapons missiles with nuclear warheads. Primitive, but surprisingly effective against our lower atmosphere configurations." More alarms blared across the bridge. Reports flooded in from all sectors. 3 more destroyers lost. Then 5. Then 12. "How are they coordinating their defense?" Nezzik demanded, stalking around the tactical display. "You said they had no unified command structure." Before anyone could answer, the view screen flickered to life with an incoming transmission. Lieutenant Dres Palorian's face appeared, his normally blue complexion now pale with shock. Behind him, alarms blared and officers rushed about in evident panic. "Commander," Palorian shouted over the chaos, "we've lost 40% of the first wave. The humans, they're not behaving as expected. Their military forces are somehow coordinating despite our communications blackout." "That's not possible," Nezzik insisted, though the evidence on the tactical display contradicted him. "Sir, they're using hardwired systems we didn't account for. And their missiles, they're targeting our engine exhaust ports with uncanny accuracy. It's as if they've prepared for this." Just then, Palorian's transmission shook violently. The lieutenant was thrown sideways as something impacted his ship. "They're launching aircraft," he screamed, genuine terror in his voice. "Thousands of them. From hidden installations, from ocean-based platforms. Even their civilian vessels." His transmission cut off abruptly as his ship's signal disappeared from the tactical display. The bridge fell silent as the crew stared at their commander. For the first time in his distinguished career, Lark Nezzik was speechless. "This is preposterous." Commander Nezzik finally exploded, slamming all 4 fists onto the command console. "How dare these primitives resist? How dare they shoot down our ships? Do they not understand who we are?" "Sir," a junior officer ventured timidly, "perhaps we should reconsider our approach." Nezzik whirled on him, teeth bared. "Reconsider?" "The Valdorian Dominion does not reconsider when faced with primitive resistance. We escalate. He turned to his tactical officer. Launch all remaining destroyer groups, target their largest population centers. Let's see how coordinated their defense remains when their cities are under direct attack. The remaining destroyers deployed, but the situation only worsened. The tactical display became a grotesque light show of Valdorian ship signatures blinking out one after another. "Sir, the humans are adapting," reported the increasingly distressed tactical officer. "They're observing our attack patterns and adjusting their defenses accordingly. And sir, they're salvaging technology from our downed ships." On the view screen, grainy footage showed human military personnel swarming over a crashed Valdorian destroyer. Within hours, not days or weeks as should have been the case for primitives they had extracted and were experimenting with Valdorian shield technology. "Impossible," Nezzik muttered. "No species learns that quickly." In her corner of the bridge, Intelligence Officer Nezzik had been quietly analyzing intercepted Earth communications. Her eyes widened as translation algorithms finally began making sense of the data. "Commander," she called out, her voice urgent, "I think I understand what's happening. The humans, they've been expecting this." "Expecting? US? Ridiculous." "Not us specifically, sir, but invasion. Their entertainment media is filled with fictional scenarios of alien invasions. They've been mentally rehearsing this for over a century." Nezzik scoffed, but Mira continued undeterred. "And sir, their history, it's nothing but warfare. Constant, endless warfare against each other. They've developed their entire civilization while continuously fighting among themselves. Their militaries may be separate, but they've all been refining combat tactics against worthy opponents for millennia." Before Nezzik could respond, another report came in. "Sir, the humans have established a unified command structure. Somehow they've overcome their political differences in just hours." On screens around the bridge, footage showed human leaders from various nations coordinating strategy. Ancient enemies now worked side by side, sharing intelligence, resources, and military assets. "Launch the aquatic division," Nezzik ordered, desperation creeping into his voice. "Their oceans cover most of the planet. We'll attack from the water where they least expect it." 6 hours later, the aquatic division commander delivered his shameful report via hologram. His uniform was still dripping wet, his expression one of utter humiliation. "The mission was unsuccessful, Commander," he began, water sloshing around his feet. "Unsuccessful? How? The aquatic division is the pride of our fleet." "Sir, we didn't account for how wet this planet actually is. Our intelligence suggested oceans, yes, but not the sheer volume of water. Not the depths, not the pressure, not the creatures." "Creatures?" Nezzik's voice rose an octave. "Yes, sir. Enormous marine animals they call whales confused our sonar. And their naval vessels, sir, they've been fighting sea battles for centuries. They were prepared. And then there were their underwater installations." "What underwater installations?" Nezzik demanded. "Our scans showed no significant underwater bases." "Submarines, sir. Nuclear-powered underwater vessels, hundreds of them, hidden beneath the waves. When we entered their territorial waters, the commander's voice faltered. Commander, we lost 80% of the aquatic division in under 30 minutes. The humans, they cheered, sir. We intercepted their communications. They were making jokes about fish in a barrel while they destroyed us." Nezzik slumped back in his command chair. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. Not to him. Not to the undefeated Valdorian Dominion. "And sir," the dripping commander added miserably, "they've captured our aquatic technology. They're already reverse engineering our propulsion systems." "How?" Nezzik exploded. "How are they doing this so quickly?" Nezzik looked up from her console, her expression grave. "Because, sir, they've spent their entire existence preparing for fights they didn't know were coming. Their history isn't one of peaceful unification like other species we've conquered. It's one of constant innovation driven by conflict. She paused. Commander, I believe we've made a terrible mistake. 12 hours into what should have been a simple conquest, Commander Nezzik called an emergency council in the flagship's secure bunker. The mood was grim. Of the original 200 ships, nearly 70 had been lost or disabled. The Valdorian Dominion hadn't suffered such casualties in, well, never. Lark Nezzik stood before the haggard commanders, her analysis complete. The holoprojector displayed images from Earth's history, scenes of battle, innovation, and tenacity that had left her sleepless and disturbed. Commanders, she began, her voice steady despite her inner turmoil, I have completed my analysis of human history, and I must report that we have gravely underestimated this species. She tapped her control pad, and the images changed to show ancient human warriors with primitive weapons. From their earliest recorded history, humans have been at war. Not occasional territorial disputes like most species, but constant, unrelenting conflict. While other species we've encountered achieved planetary unification before developing advanced technology, humans developed their technology precisely because they were trying to kill each other more efficiently. The images shifted to show world wars, Cold War weapons development, modern conflicts. Every major technological advancement in their history, metallurgy, flight, nuclear power, computing, even their primitive space exploration was either developed for warfare or quickly adapted to military use. Commander Nezzik's complexion had shifted from its normal blue to a sickly gray. But our intelligence indicated they were divided, politically fragmented. Yes, sir, and that's what makes them even more dangerous, Mira continued. Most species we've conquered achieved peace through unification. Humans achieved advancement through competition. Their divisions drove them to constantly innovate against each other. It's, she paused, searching for the right word, unprecedented. She brought up more data points. In just the last 100 years of their history, they've created and stockpiled enough weapons to destroy their own planet multiple times over. They have military contingency plans for scenarios ranging from conventional warfare to biological attacks to Sir. They even have detailed plans for the exact situation we've created. What do you mean? Asked a stunned General Vrox. They call it alien invasion, sir. They've been theorizing about it, planning for it, and creating fictional scenarios about it for generations. When we arrived, we didn't surprise them, we confirmed their suspicions. We fulfilled their prophecies. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Nezzik spoke, his voice barely audible. You're telling me that instead of attacking a peaceful planet ripe for conquest, we attacked what is essentially a planet-sized military training ground, sir, Mira finished for him. A species that has been preparing for war every single day of its existence. A species that thrives on conflict, adapts to threats with astonishing speed, and has been subconsciously waiting for an enemy like us to appear. Nezzik stared at the tactical display, showing the ongoing battle around Earth. Realization dawned in his four eyes, a horrified understanding that he had led the proud Valdorian fleet into the worst possible scenario. In our arrogance, he whispered, we attacked the one planet in this sector that was actually prepared to fight back. Retreat, Commander Nezzik said, the word tasting like poison in his mouth. The Valdorian Dominion has never retreated in its history. The Valdorian Dominion has never faced humans before, countered Lark Nezzik, her usual deference replaced by urgent pragmatism. Sir, every minute we delay costs us more ships, more lives, and worse still gives humans more of our technology to study. The emergency council erupted into chaotic debate. Some officers insisted they should commit more forces after all. The Dominion had thousands more ships that could be summoned. Others argued for using their planet-killer weapons, though that would destroy the very resources they had come to claim. A thunderous explosion rocked the flagship, ending all discussion. "They've breached our outer defenses," reported the tactical officer, his voice hollow with disbelief. "Human fighters are attacking the flagship directly." Nezzik rose to his full height. "Send the evacuation signal. All ships to execute emergency hyperspace jumps to the rally point. We'll regroup and reassess." As the evacuation order went out, the tactical displays showed a new, horrifying development. Several Valdorian ships weren't retreating, they weren't responding at all. "Sir, the humans are boarding our vessels," reported an officer, checking and rechecking his readings, as if they might change. "They've somehow adapted their atmospheric suits to work with our ship environments. They're actually capturing our ships intact." "Impossible." Nezzik roared, but the evidence was undeniable. The humans were not just defending their planet, they were seizing Valdorian technology and turning it against its creators. As the flagship prepared for emergency hyperspace jump, multiple systems failed simultaneously. The lights flickered and error messages flooded every console. "What now?" demanded Nezzik. "Engine containment failing, sir. The humans targeted our main power core with remarkable precision. Hyperspace jump is impossible. We're going down." The mighty flagship, pride of the Valdorian fleet, began its uncontrolled descent toward Earth's surface. Nezzik watched in horror as his command crumbled around him. Emergency pods jettisoned in all directions, most to be picked off by waiting human fighters. "Come with me," Nezzik said, suddenly at his side. "I've secured an escape shuttle with stealth capabilities." Minutes later, Nezzik found himself crammed into a small shuttle with Mira and 4 other officers, watching through the viewports as his flagship broke apart in Earth's atmosphere. The shuttle's stealth systems functioned just well enough to avoid immediate detection, allowing Mira to guide it to a remote landing site, a dense forest area far from major human settlements. The landing was rough, damaging the shuttle beyond repair. As the small group of survivors gathered outside their ruined vessel, the full impact of their situation hit Commander Lark Nezzik like a physical blow. "We're stranded," he said, staring up at the alien sky, a sky now filled with the burning remnants of his once mighty fleet. "Stranded on the most dangerous planet in the galaxy." Mira checked her scanner. "Human search parties are already combing landing sites. It's only a matter of time before they find us." "Will they kill us?" asked one of the junior officers, his voice trembling. Mira's expression was unreadable. "Based on my analysis of their nature, they might do something far worse." "What could be worse than death?" Nezzik asked. "They might make us talk," she replied grimly. "And then they'll learn about the rest of the Dominion." Former Commander Lark Nezzik, now known to his human neighbors as Larry Neck, sat on the porch of his rural Montana home, watching the sunset. His holographic human disguise itched constantly, but it was better than the alternative. He activated his hidden recorder, ensuring the encryption was active before speaking. "Personal log, day 412 on Earth. The Dominion rescue fleet never came. I've intercepted enough communications to know why. The Galactic Council has officially classified Earth as extremely hazardous, no contact, and established a quarantine zone around the entire solar system. For once, the bureaucrats made the right call." He paused as a human vehicle, they called it a pickup truck, drove past his property. The driver waved. Nezzik awkwardly waved back with one of his disguised arms. "My observations of humans continue to confound all Valdorian understanding of sentient behavior. They are walking contradictions. The same species that nearly wiped out my entire fleet has also displayed unexpected compassion when they found one of our injured officers. They didn't execute him, they treated his wounds. They study us not just for military advantage, but out of genuine curiosity." He glanced toward the small dwelling where Mira Tez had set up her research station. She had adapted to life among humans with surprising enthusiasm, even developing what she called a scholarly fascination with their culture, art, and history. "Mira believes we can learn from them. I think she's gone native, as the humans would say." Yesterday she was watching something called cat videos for 3 hours straight. She claims it's research. I have my doubts. Nezzik's tone grew more serious. What remains indisputable, however, is the speed of human advancement, using salvaged Valdorian technology. They've made leaps that should have taken centuries. Their primitive spacecraft are being retrofitted with our drive systems. They're mastering faster than light theory. Their military cooperation, once thought impossible given their fractured politics, has only strengthened since our attack. A distant rumble drew his attention to the night sky. A test flight of a new human Valdorian hybrid vessel, no doubt. The humans have a saying, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." We didn't kill them. We barely wounded them. And now they're stronger. They're coming to the stars, not as the primitive newcomers we expected, but as battle-hardened warriors who defeated the mighty Valdorian Dominion on their first try. Nezzik allowed himself a rare, sardonic laugh. The greatest irony? If we had simply left them alone, they might have destroyed themselves with their endless conflicts. Instead, we gave them a common enemy. We united them. We accelerated their development by centuries. In trying to conquer Earth, we awakened a force that may one day conquer the galaxy. He gazed up at the stars, the same stars that human ships would soon be exploring, with all the tenacity and adaptability that had defeated his fleet. The universe has no idea what's coming.